What's up, bitches? It's me here a little late to go over the end of season awards voting that we did and all that good stuff. Usually, this is kind of the first thing that happens, but with the voting and travel and new job and all the things, got pushed aside. So I appreciate Cam and Code for kind of calling me out here in a good way in the chat today to make it happen. So excited to go over this super quickly. We'll also talk about the rule changes that happened, a little bit past the graphic, just the way it's nice and easy. And then maybe even touch on some stuff that happened starting February 1st, where a little bit of things changed, but not a whole bunch. So, first question, just to kind of get right into it, is the GM of the year. And if I'm not mistaken, this is time number 3 that Cam wins GM of the year. This tends to be like the MVP in the NFL, where it's like the quarterback of the best team kind of wins the MVP type shit. But well deserved for Cam. Again, made some trades mid-season. End of the season, we kind of all thought that he was dead, and here he is taking it home again. Unicorn getting some votes, Chase getting a vote as well, and here as well. 11 teams did the survey, 1 team did not. I don't know who it was specifically because I don't think these votes we track who said what. But yeah, so this one goes to Cam. Moving along to our quarterback MVP, a big swing, but it's to Drake May. So some votes for Stafford and a whole bunch of votes for May. Got 1 vote for Josh Allen from Ticket to Ride. Mahomes not getting a single vote, even though he ended high in the standings. But it's Drake May. And if this is anything to tell with the real MVP vote that's happening sometime soon that people theorize is just between these two, looks like May will take it there if our league it can predict the future. A couple of votes for Stafford there, 2 coming in for Justin's Deli, but Liquidators having a better season than the Deli. And Drake May, a bit more of an impactful performance than Stafford, according to our voters, here to take home the quarterback MVP award. When we look at the running back MVP, it's a big split, but Bijan Robinson takes home the majority, 6 of the 11 votes going to Bijan. CMC gets a couple votes, JT gets a few votes, and Jahmyr Gibbs gets 0, which is interesting. With JT kind of falling off the back a bit, I thought that maybe we'd see more votes to Jahmyr Gibbs, but that was not the case, fortunately or unfortunately, depending upon how you feel about it. When we look at the wide receiver MVP, this was really a 2-horse race, as we probably expected between these players, but Puka takes it home, just barely edging out JSN for the wide receiver MVP. No votes for ARSB or Pickens, and JSN kind of comes up short, which that's okay. I think Unicorn's used to kind of coming up short here once it gets to voting time. Ooh, sorry, too soon. But Morgan wins something. Maybe that's too soon. Morgan wins a vote here for the wide receiver MVP going to Puka Nacua. So good stuff there. And then we move to tight end, and this was a landslide. It tends to be that way just with kind of how not deep that position is. But we've got all the votes going over to Trey McBride. We do get 1 for Tyler Warren with Rudy was offsides. Not sure again which team said that, but Trey McBride takes home the first place there with 10 votes for the tight end MVP. Kelsey Ferguson not getting a single vote. Warren gets an honorary 1. We saw a little bit of Loveland coming live in the playoffs, which was fun. But it's will that be something that's actually sustainable in the future and all that good stuff too. So that is our MVP and GM of the Year rankings. Now we kind of get to some of the fun questions where people get to kind of talk about other teams. This is where we're going to get to be mean and also show some love and appreciation. And since it's secret, it's always fun to kind of see. So one of my favorite questions is, which team or teams were you secretly rooting for? And we've got a big majority. Unicorn, even though I made fun of him, 6 teams secretly rooting for Unicorn. Nobody coming close to that, by the way. Everybody else, 3 at the most, kind of spread across the team, spread across the league. Lots of teams with 2, a few teams with 1. The disrespect here, by the way, to only have 1 team voting for Flynn and Chase and Vic is a little mean. But I guess I can't really talk shit if I don't know who I voted for there at the same time. But Unicorn taking home a lot of votes. Everybody rooting for Nate, Code, and Rick, and then kind of spread across the league there with 2 votes for everybody else. And then this is where it gets really fun. Who are you secretly rooting against, or maybe not even secretly? We had 7 teams rooting against Morgan. I suppose the boisterousness is creating some enemies, but I think he likes that. I think that feels him. So maybe we should not do it anymore. Maybe we should root for him, but that'll be nice. Justin's Deli, Allen getting 6 votes. I imagine that's just from kind of like, not the absenteeism, but he's not just around so much. Cam, half the league not wanting Cam to do well. I think that's natural. Flynn getting a couple of votes to go against him. Vic getting a few votes. Brown out, obviously, a couple. Ticket to Ride, a couple. The implications in the Hippos with 1 each. Seawards and Liquidators with 1. Seawards and the Pandas. Nobody rooting against those guys secretly. So very well loved our Unicorn and Rick, which is always nice to see. And it's interesting to see that. So let's talk about trading. Who did you enjoy talking trades with the most? I'm about to sneeze, so I'm going to mute my microphone because that's annoying. Oh boy. Thank you for saying bless you, by the way, out loud. I heard you here from all the way from here in Virginia. So the inaugurals, the implications, and the Cardinals all receiving 4 teams saying I enjoyed trading with them. Hippos get 2. So does Rudy was offsides. So does Ticket to Ride. Flynn gets 3, enjoying the trades. But everybody getting a vote at one point in time. Allen, K. Miggs, Unicorn, Rick, and Chase all getting at least 1 vote. So I think it speaks to just how great of a group of guys we have and how active we are. Even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes, just lots of trading going on there, which is always fun to do and to see. And then some polls for the future. Let's talk about the future. Which team is most likely to go from the playoffs to the toilet bowl? It's a large majority here, as I think we all voted for and agree. We think it's going to be the inaugurals. I think there's more proof to that pudding, obviously, with Chase being sold, with McBride being sold, and all that fun stuff. But the bulk of the league thinking that it is the inaugurals. We do see some votes coming in. So 1 vote for the Seawards, and then 2 votes for the Deli. The Deli's also kind of said that they think they are going to be rebuilding. So it could be both of them. Rick continues to kind of teeter on that line, and so we'll see if he pushes chips in, pulls chips out. I think that those are all good options, but I agree with us. I don't think Brown out, the Pandas, or the Liquidators are going anywhere anytime soon. Next question is the opposite, most likely to go from toilet bowl to the playoffs, and this is going to look very, very similar to the one that we just saw. The large majority of the league thinks Rudy was offsides, will swing right up the ladder. 7 votes for them to make it up to, 8 votes for them to make it all the way to the playoffs after being in the toilet bowl. A couple votes for Flynn, 1 vote for the implications. I don't think that was me, by the way, but lots of votes spread out across. I think that we all can agree that Nate's in the middle of that nasty rebuild, but the team gets, better and better, I think, and the fact that he's finding value with a $3 Parker Washington, I'll take that over getting 1 single vote on this thing any day of the week. Let's talk about trading a tiny bit more. Now that we've got some hindsight on everything, which trade was the worst one of the year? And it's an opportunity for us to make fun of Cam, which is always great. Sending Matthew Stafford and a 2nd for Geno Smith and a 3rd took the majority of the votes. 10 of the 11 votes for that one, and then we've got 1 vote for sending Aaron Rodgers and $120 in cap space for Austin Eckler and a 3rd. Obviously, Eckler getting hurt there sucks, but we'll see. We'll see how Eckler does next year. I like him a lot. And the Commanders' backfield sucks, so who knows. Votes for the most disappointing team of the year. Boom. It's the Luck Cardinals. Half the league saying they're the most disappointing team of the year. And I think if you ask Morgan, I think he would almost say the same thing. Flynn comes in kind of a close 2nd with 4, before 3rd place being scooped up by Codes and Ticket to Ride. And then a couple teams getting some votes here or there, but some teams either with no expectation, like the implications and the Hippos not getting a vote, or teams that performed well, like Bolt and Cam Hun, who you kind of can't say if you won it all, you're disappointing, or if you had a great regular season, you're disappointing, and some scattered 1 votes throughout. Most okay team of the year is the Luck Cardinals, but tied with Ticket to Ride this year, both teams ending at 5-5. No other teams really there. Rick gets 2, and I think that's kind of fair, and then some scattered votes throughout as well. This question is kind of really subject to like what's your definition of okay, really. So some scattered votes there. Now we get into next year again, future predictions. Which teams are legit contenders? So which team thinks that they can win, should be able to win? You can vote for as many teams as you'd like here, and we see a lot of votes coming a lot of different ways. No votes for the Luck Cardinals or the Hippos or the Implications. The rest of the league getting at least a vote, but a majority of them, 10 of the 11 teams saying that Chase is a legit contender next year. We've got 9 that go to the Pandas, 8 that go to the Seawards, and 6 that go to Brownout. And then it kind of drops off a bit. We've got some for the inaugurals before we knew if they were rebuilding or not. You can maybe strip those away. A couple for the Deli, a couple for Ticket to Ride. Rudy was offsides, and Flynn getting an honorary vote there as well. But a large piece of the league saying, hey, it's a Chase Rick Unicorn League, and Brownout lagging a bit behind. Some would say maybe dying a slow death there. In terms of which teams are legit pretenders, and the way I interpret this question when I write it is teams who think that they could, but actually they can't. So I wouldn't argue, and I think the league sees it this way as well in terms of, you're not really voting for the Hippos here, the inaugurals here, because they don't think they're there. But we see a lot of votes coming across for Morgan, a couple for the Deli, and Brownout taking a higher spot there. Ticket to Ride with 3, and just kind of a bit of a spread there afterwards, but no votes for Flynn or the Hippos. And so, middle of the road there for Flynn potentially, and then I think we kind of expect one more year before Nate's really able to take off. And then the question that is the question of all questions: who will win it all in 2026? Only one option to vote for here, and so the pie chart is a mess. I wonder if I should do this just to kind of reveal. Nope, it's this button, just to kind of make it fun and do it like team by team. So this is what our pie chart looks like. Oh boy. This is what our pie chart looks like. It's a mess. So lots of different teams all getting a vote. We've got 5 of the 12 teams getting a vote. I'm trying to make this look a lot better on the fly. And then we'll start to talk about who is each. So guess your 45% now, as 5 of the 11 teams think it's going to be. Actually, we'll save that one for last. Why not? Let's hover over these 9.1% teams. Teams that receive 1 vote to win it all. We've got Win Like Flynn as a vote to win it all. And on the bottom side of this, we've got Vasquez, which is not Am I Spooky, by the way. Whoops, sorry. That's just me copying and pasting from last year because I'm lazy or efficient, depending on how you interpret it. But that is Rudy Was Offsides. We've got to vote for Rudy Was Offsides. We got to vote for Win Like Flynn to win it all. We've got 2 teams that received 2 votes. We'll talk about those now. We've got the Liquidators to get 2 votes to win it all. We've also got the Webster Tigers who received 2 votes to win it all, which is funny because we just made fun of them up here, but then 2 different teams voted for it. And yeah, interesting there. And that leaves 1 team without any vote, or excuse me, 1 team that we haven't talked about that receives 5 of the 11 votes, and that is, insert drum roll here, the Kong Su Pandas receiving 5 votes. For those of you playing along at home, that is 0 votes for Brownout, 0 votes for My Cup Runneth Over, no offense, and the Implications. So we kind of like, you guys go sit in the corner, you're not real. But no votes for the Deli, no votes for Ticket to Ride, no votes for the C-words. And I think that's everybody that received no votes. Maybe I'm missing somebody. And no votes for the inaugurals because we expected the rebuild, which we're now seeing. So, but Brownout not getting a single vote is surprising to me. But we do see a lot from these other teams. So that does it for the voting. Kind of fun just to talk about. This graphic came out a few days ago. You guys should probably have read it unless you're K-Migs and don't know how to read. And we'll just kind of touch on these briefly. If you've read this, if you kind of got it, you don't have any questions, now's the time to end the video. Hope you have a great day, weekend. If you're on the East Coast, you're about to get hit with 20 feet of snow like we are. God bless. Be safe, all those things. But a quick overview of what these rule changes look like. 0.5% tight end premium has been added. That's easy peasy. If you trade for a player on another team's taxi, you can keep him there if you make space. So if you do a trade and I send you a player from my taxi squad and you have an open spot on your taxi squad, or you move somebody from your taxi squad to your active roster, that player can then go on your taxi squad. You can keep that discount and the contract ability to roll it over, all that good stuff. You have until Sunday at kickoff at 1 p.m. Eastern to say, I want to do this, and I call this guy, move this guy down, and you just communicate with me and code and DMs if you want to make that happen. You don't have to have space on your taxi before the trade is done. This way, if the trade breaks down, you're not screwed because you pulled somebody up. You just let us know once it happens. You've got some time to do it. There is now a roster move called a fully guaranteed contract. So what that means is that Y10R number that you plug into the calculator on the website, you can plug that number in, and whatever the total contract value comes out to be. Let's pretend that you want to sign somebody, you put the Y10R in, you do it for 3 years, and their total contract comes out to $500 even. That needs to be spread across those 3 years. The fully guaranteed contract says 15% of that cost is gone. It's out the window. So for $500, it becomes what, $425 instead of $500. So it can be worth it for longer term deals that are more expensive. But if that player is ever cut or dropped from your team, their entire contract is dead cap. So you've got to weigh the balance there. It's someone you want to use as a long-term investment that you are very, very, very secure on. I was speaking with a team the other day who I won't name that said, what if I do this with my one running back and it was going to save $10? And we, props to this owner, they immediately were like, well, why would I do that then? It doesn't make sense, because then if that running back gets hurt or they get cut or something, you're not going to, the risk of that for $10 isn't worth it. To save $100, probably worth considering, but you've got to balance it. It does cost a roster move to do it as well, but it's just like an extension. It's just a fully guaranteed extension or a fully guaranteed roster move. There's also a roster move called buyout, which I think actually won't come into play much, but it might because of the fully guaranteed contract. You basically add up all the total amount. Look at Trump. Yeah, well, it's a great country. All the total amount of their contract, and you put it all in this year in dead cap. So it's going to be a little bit weird, but if you're really thinking about the future, you want to get out of a bad contract, something's fully guaranteed. If you're rebuilding and you have some spare cap space and you're just kind of like, I'll take that guy from you, but if you pay me to take that contract from you, maybe this is how I get out of it quickly. It has some value there. I think it's going to be rarely used. But that is a new roster move we have as well. And the last big addition here that's worth talking about, the team coming in last place in the regular season standings will complete a live press conference for their 4.13 pick. That was the one that we voted on. So we'll schedule that out. We'll put it like a day and time out there, and it's 10 to 15 minutes of them coming out and doing a press conference in the league, asking questions for them. It'll be live if you can't be there, but you want to ask a question because it'll be recorded. I'll ask it for you or something like that, but should be a lot of fun. Again, the punishments are optional, but it's not too bad, and to get a free pick out of it would be nice, and that's what's happening for next season. Little tweaks that we have going on in the league. The formula to determine the contract's cost when a re-signing or extending is now cheaper than it was before. You would really kind of run into these obstacles where if you try to do a 5-year deal, it would really, really, really hurt you. There'd be this big ramp up. It's now tweaked to be a little bit easier and cheaper in these longer term, bigger contracts. You're not really going to see too much of a change in, like, the guy costs $10, you want to extend him 2 years. You will see the change for the guy that's Y10R is $150 and you want to re-sign him for 3 years. There's going to be a big impact there. Higher seeds no longer choose who they want to play in the grand prize bracket. They don't pick the side of the bracket. They don't pick their opponent. It's just a normal bracket from here on out. The toilet bowl is now a lot more of a lottery system. The best that you can do is if you win all your games and the seed above you loses all of their games, you're basically even with them. It's basically going to be seed number 1, the worst team in the league, gets 40 tickets. The second worst gets 30. The third worst gets 20. The fourth worst gets 10. And if you win a game, you get 3 more tickets. So if you come in second place where you get 30 and you win all 3 of your games, you go up to 39. And if the worst team didn't win a single game, they're still at 40. So your odds are basically even. And then we'll do that drawing live. We'll announce when we're going to do it. It'll be on stream or something. It won't be recorded just to avoid any, accusation. Not that anybody's ever accused me of cheating other than the condition incident. But just to be super transparent, we'll stream it live and somebody will be there and we'll do a whole thing. This way, it's not some BS and we cheated it behind the scenes because Nate Venmo'd me and wants number 101 or something. That'll take place next year. This year's already done in the books. You can ungruntle a player by throwing cash at them. Basically, if you ever pissed a player off from a franchise tag, you can from franchise tagging them before, you can throw them superstar money this year and make them happy again, where you're going to basically pay them a lot of money to make them happy again, because money talks. Shout out Myles Garrett. Teams are protected and they won't be forced to pull a player off the taxi. So look, I made trades last year, and that forced me to pull Jackson Dart up to my active roster. Those decisions were my own, and I knew that that would be an implication, to have that happen. But if you've got a rookie quarterback and your team is not good and you want to roll their contract over, you want to keep them cheap, they're doing well, and they're on your taxi, they are protected from ridiculous circumstances. Let's pretend your starting quarterback is Russell Wilson and somebody else, or you only have Russ, or just whatever, and that, one player gets cut from their team, or they get traded, or they get benched, or whatever, and someone else has a season-ending injury. You're not forced to pull that player up off your taxi because those circumstances were out of your control. You are not forced. But if you trade pieces and then you have a starting player on your taxi, then it's on you to pull them up. The reason I mentioned quarterback specifically is for running back, wide receiver, tight end. You can find those on the waiver wire that you can start no problem. Quarterbacks are kind of that special circumstance just because there's only 32 of them playing every active week, unless people get decimated or something on the field. So that's what I mean by their protection in those extreme circumstances. So rookie contracts, we talked about it before, but they can be restructured. We were kind of debating on what was going to happen. The vote this way said you can restructure. Where it's tricky is if you extend a player, so let's pretend you've got a player who's on a 1-year, $100 deal, and you want to extend them. That $100 on the year that they currently have is added back into the equation. You can shuffle the cap around however you'd like. Okay? With a rookie contract, it doesn't work that way. If you want to do that, you have to extend them and restructure. So you'd have to use two moves to do that. Otherwise, their contract will stay rigid. So you can extend a rookie and play with that money however you want in a couple extension years, but their rookie contract will not change. So, for example, if you drafted someone in the first round, they had a 5-year deal, they've got 2 years left on it. So this year and next year are their rookie contracts. You can extend them, but you can't change this year and next year's cost. You can only change the cost of the things in the future. You can't do anything that's part of their rookie deal. And you can accept or deny the 5th-year option, and we'll talk about that if you have questions about that, because it's a bit weird. So get with me or Code again if you have questions, as we were starting to get to that point that 5th-year options are getting ready to be due and all that good stuff for the first time, which is really fun. Holdouts will calculate it at the end of week 17 and requires players to be in the tier 2, to be in the tier in 2 of the last 3 years. So it's a bit easier on teams than it was in the past. If you ended in the top tier, you were just a holdout if you didn't meet the money. Now you've got to end at wide receiver or running back 1 through 12, or quarterback 1 through 6, or tight end 1 through 4 in 2 of the last 3 years, and be paid 60% less of the average of the. So it's a bit more work on the back end in terms of what's happening, but teams shouldn't be stuck with a Jawan Jennings holdout, a Wan'Dale Robinson holdout, a random tight end 4 who barely made the cut, a rise out of nowhere, this quarterback did really well type thing. It should protect teams a bit more and make a bit more sense. And then last tweak, converting a player's salary to a bonus is a lot more punishing. Thanks, Cam. We won't run into a situation where you're just able to take $150 in cap space and push that in the next year, and it gets doubled, but who cares because I'm rebuilding. You do that now, it's $150 turns into a $600 dead cap hit instead of a $300, so it's a lot more punishing. It still exists to give you some flexibility. So like if you just need a couple bucks, it's still a really good move. But if it's a lot more, it's going to be a lot more punishing. Calculators, by the way, on the website are all updated. So the calculators, you click on the calculators tab, click on whichever one you need. It's updated for you to be able to play with it easily. And if you think there's any bugs or anything like that, again, code around the DMs. 2 things that are subtracted from the league. Well, 3. We kicked Cam finally. The other 2 subtractions, the payout to the highest regular season point for winner is removed. I just shuffled that money back in the pot how I think it made sense. I made second place and third place. Third place gets their buy-in back. Second place gets their buy-in plus another buy-in back. First place gets the rest. I feel like that makes sense, but open to ideas if we want to change that. Doesn't matter to me. And the Prove It deal is dead and been removed, which I think is a good thing, even though I thought that between Rick and I and Code and DMs all separately kind of came up with a good idea of how to make it work. But I think the idea was there. But, failed in the end, which is totally fine. Things that are upcoming. So 2-1 is when the roster moves roll over and refresh. They already kind of did. We're ahead of schedule in a good way. March 1st is the next big date you need to pay attention for. And why is that? Great question. Anybody that is on an expiring contract on March 1st will be released into the free agency pool. I'm going to have a really fun day playing with spreadsheets and Sleeper and cutting every single player that's on your team that is on an expiring deal. So if you want to keep someone on your roster that's expiring, it needs to be done by March 1st. And again, if you have questions about the contract or how to make it work, let us know. Additionally, that is the cut discount period. The entire month of January and February, there is a discount for cutting players. If you are on the fence for cutting a player that is a high cap value, there's a discount if you do it in January or February versus if you wait until March or any other month in the year. It's not going to be a big difference if your guy's $10 versus, should I cut this guy now? If he's $10, you'll save an extra dollar if you do it sooner than later. But if your guy's $150, you're going to save a good chunk of change if you cut them now or in February versus if you wait until March. So keep that in mind to make sure that you do that as well. And then the next thing that's big after that is your RFA decisions are due on the 9th in terms of who you're going to tag with an RFA and all that stuff. But you need to have that actually figured out by the 1st because, that's when the players are released. Holdout decisions due early in March as well in terms of are you letting them go? Are you trading them? Are you taking the comp pick? Are you going to re-sign them? All that good stuff. So a lot coming here early March and a lot happening right now. I know we did a lot of roster moves and then it kind of hit a pause. As a friendly reminder, there is absolutely no reason to do them early if you don't want to. I wouldn't do anything that's a borderline thing. Take your time and think about it. But if you know for sure that you're going to do something with somebody, the sooner you let Coder know, the better. Just makes your life easier instead of towards the end of February it gets crazy. But there's really no rush. Take your time. Think about what makes sense. These moves don't go anywhere. You still have the ability to restructure and extend guys later. All that good stuff. The really big decision you need to be thinking about now is, are there any contracts on my team that are expiring that I want to hold on to them in some way, shape, or form? And again, we'll help you and talk you through decisions if you have any questions or want to make sure you're doing this the right way. So appreciate it, guys. Hope you have a great day, weekend, all the things, and we'll talk soon.